Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz, in which I conduct in-depth and revealing interviews of icons and those who I feel are the next generation of icons of the weddings and event industry. And this is all to give you education and inspiration, and really for any entrepreneur, but especially those of us in the event industry. And at this time of this recording, I just recently saw the movie Yesterday. And, you know, it's funny. Well, I mean, I'm in the music and entertainment industry, so I thought it was going to be cheesy, but it's really good. It's a good feel-good movie. It's really fun. If anyone has not yet seen it, it's a nice break from reality to just watch that show. It's really fun. Again, the film Yesterday, and I am not getting paid to promote that. Anyhow, I want to mention last week's episode. If you missed it, it was with David Mon, just an outrageous planner and designer whose clients include social leaders from around the world, as well as the who's who of brands and institutions. For example, he did the 100th anniversary of the Plaza Hotel. So yeah, you should check out last week's episode with David Mon. So this week's, I'm so excited. This is really particularly close to my heart because it is with Darren Olarsch of On the Move Entertainment. I went to see Darren at his office in New York City. He and I immediately hit it off. Darren founded the company in 1993 as an event production company specializing in entertainment. And for Darren, talent is just the tip of the iceberg. You are going to hear all about how he curates every job with his behind-the-scenes team of creative directors, stylists, choreographers, designers, and event strategists who take raw ideas and really do mold them into impactful and meaningful experiences. And among the groups that have made On the Move what they are today is Synergy, which Darren describes as a band DJ hybrid and has been On the Move's most popular group for over 24 years. Along with his creative cocktail ensembles and DJs, On the Move's flagship bands, The New Millennials and Sold Out, S-O-U-L-E-D, Sold Out, have been featured at events for A-list celebrities, Fortune 500 companies, and even heads of state. And finally, Darren's production staff maintains a state-of-the-art inventory of stage and event lighting, concert-level pro audio equipment, and the very latest in video systems, including LED video walls and video mapping systems. So enjoy my conversation with Darren Olarsch. Darren, man, I've really been very much looking forward to having you on the show because, you know, music, entertainment's close to my heart. I was thinking back to when I first discovered music. I was like 6 years old. I was in first grade. You know, I'm in this big auditorium, and I vividly remember this. It had such an impact on me. And they handed out these plastic recorders. They were called flutophones. I don't know if
I know what you mean. Yeah,
if in that it existed in your day, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
like these plastic. So flutophones. And I remember the first song they taught us, it was like Windy, which was a big song back then. You know, da 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 da.
We're dating ourselves now.
Oh yeah, man, way dating. Yeah. I know. I really.
We're going to get into 8-tracks now, aren't we?
I shouldn't. It's before 8-tracks. I shouldn't bring this up. But I remember when I played that thing, it hit me so hard that was it for me. When did it first hit you, the music bug?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've always been entranced by music since I was a little kid. And, you know, I never dreamed, though, even through high school and college, that it would be a profession. You know, it was something that was more of a passion. It was something that was just more of a feeling to me that was just part of life. You know, I never, ever dreamed that this would be the rest of my life.
What did you listen to back when you were young?
Man, that's funny. I would just mention 8-tracks.
Now, is this going to date you?
Well, no, yeah, totally going to date us. You're giving away no, I would say like my parents used to make fun of me, the fact that I had Elvis albums.
Oh yeah, you were into Elvis. All right.
You know, I just remember really young. I mean, I remember the early Billy Joel stuff. You know, I had the most eclectic collection of 45s and 8-tracks back in the day that you if you looked at them, you would never know what I was into. It was across the board. And you know what? I'm like that now. I mean, I'll listen to everything now from serious hip hop into like classical and opera. So,
well, were your parents into music?
I don't think my parents were musically inclined in any way. You know, they were not musicians. They were not, you know, I would say, you know, piano lessons as they did maybe growing up in Brooklyn. But maybe that was the extent of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when did it start to become, like when you were in high school, were you thinking at all what you would do the rest of your life? Nothing.
No. Literally not an iota, not 1% of 1%.
Were you like an athlete or something like that?
Not even that too. I think it was just a little bit of everything, looking for what I wanted to do. And then in college, I think things started to come a little bit into picture. And I started dabbling in our field, working with friends, DJing a little bit. And that sort of, again, I think I fell into that even after graduating college, where it started becoming a reality of like, let's make some money.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Michigan.
What was your major?
Archaeology.
Oh, no. Okay. My father was an anthropologist, so I know about archaeology. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you go on digs and things like that?
I never went on a dig. I'm still waiting.
You're still waiting.
Still waiting to go on my dig.
But so after college, what did you think about archaeology?
I looked at it as a means to an end to further my education. I probably was leaning towards going into law. And, it was something that was interesting to me. Like there were so many kids that were studying, that were pre-law. And I said, I'm going to be the only one applying to law school that has a degree in archaeology.
Oh, you probably, it's funny.
But I never did.
Friends of mine back in those days who didn't know what they wanted to do, they would go into law.
Yeah. That was like the Jewish,
right.
That was
I don't know. So I'll be a lawyer.
It was like, hey, listen, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be a doctor like my parents blind. So I'll be a lawyer.
Well, that's second, for Jewish parents. Well, so then after college, you say you started to dabble. Mm-hmm. What was the moment or what happened that got you to then seriously think about doing this?
Yeah, we would have these fraternity parties in college, and
University of Michigan, we're talking party. Well, not that the school's a party place, but
not even close what it is now. Now it's like they shut down everything. But yeah, we'd have these crazy parties, and we made these dance tapes. They were like, the mixtapes. It's funny. Yeah. Some of the collateral material that we use now for our company On the Move is based on that notion back then when we made these dance tapes and we used that cassette, that cassette logo of back in the day when you made those mixtapes.
Well, yeah. And I'm thinking back to those days that, because it was a tape, the medium that was on, we couldn't obviously just choose in the moment.
Yeah.
DJs with LPs could do it. But as far as the tapes, it's like you got to think ahead, right? In terms of a beginning, a middle, of an end, you're taking people through the party. So you would do what
we would make these tapes, and we would make these different versions for different tapes to figuring on what's going to be our vibe that night. So we would make these and like you said, we would prep in advance, knowing that this one's going to be a rager, or this one's going to be outrageous. It's going to be crazy. Well, this one's going to be a little bit more chill. Let's do this. So even back then, before it was the thought of, again, being a profession, I was really instrumental in thinking of these vibes and how we can create moods from that. So
see, that's interesting. Yeah. So it just kind of evolved for you.
It did. And then, I was presented with an option after school of really going into a business and learning a skill that was not based on my education. It was just like real life. It's like, okay, what do we do? We're done with school.
Yeah.
Now we have to earn. We have to go live. We have to go make a living at something. So a friend of mine was doing it. He's like, let's just give this a try. And I told my parents about it. And I think my parents at the time were like, well, let him get it out of his system.
Right.
Yeah.
But giving what a try exactly?
The music business, the entertainment business.
Like how so? What did it look like
Literally,
at that time?
it was mostly DJing. It was taking music and playing it for other people. I mean, honestly, that's the core of what we still do now, almost 30 years later. But it was then just that. It was spinning music for clients.
So how did you get your first client?
Yeah, there was literally knocking on doors. It was literally cold calling. It was literally typing our own cheesy flyers and leaving them in mailboxes, honestly.
About the DJ available for, like, were you thinking specifically
penny
weddings,
savers,
mitzvahs, anything? I do.
Remember that?
Yeah.
You saving up for an ad in the penny savers. No one even knows what that is anymore.
So what was the first gig you got?
Oh, damn.
Do you remember?
The first gig. It was nothing to be proud of. It would look at these gigs and it could have been just a scary group of people in a scary hall on a random dark night. It was nothing extravagant by any means. I mean, we really, really earned our way up by taking any gig we could. Yeah.
And is this out of New York City? Like, where were you based out of?
Yeah, I mean, that was out of New York City, and it was based out of probably the northern suburbs, northern Jersey and Rockland County. So I think getting our first gig in the big city was probably one of our first, accomplishments.
Yeah, and you're saying ours, so you had a partner?
Yeah, at the time, we had a different partner than now, and it was back in the day where we were just two kids working out of his bedroom. Yeah.
My God. So Darren, when was the point when you said to yourself, okay, you know what? This is it. This is what I want to do. Like, did
couple
it
weeks
happen
ago.
like that?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago. Well, I mean, I see here we're in this downstairs in this cabaret-like environment that you built, you said about 8 months ago, which is, incredible idea. So I can see, I think things are going to go to yet another level with all this.
This has been our dream for probably the last 10 years. To finally make it come true this year was a huge step for us. Yeah.
Which is this kind of cabaret, like, so you have performances and showcases at the same.
Our business has evolved to a quite a different model, I think, than a lot of folks even maybe understand about us, which is, instead of just, hey, here's a product where we can hire for our event, we're really curating with our clients directly, with the designers and planners that we work with and our clients specifically. Instead of saying, here's something for you, they say, we're looking for this. Can you make it for me? So we're building from the ground up, a musical or an entertaining solution for them. And we're doing it here live.
Yeah.
So someone say, I have this vision, whether it's for my wedding or for my event or for whatever it is. And we say, well, let us show you. We're going to take a stab at it. We're going to show you. And they say, what do you mean? Come to our cabaret. Let's sit down. Let's open a bottle of wine and let's play some music. And then they'll sit with us right over here to my left and they'll say, I like this. Let's do this more. Or, you know what? I wasn't thinking it'd be like that. What if we took that out and added this? So they're very much a part of building of their entertainment, which was just a ton of fun.
I definitely want to come back to this.
Yep.
I think this is the core of it, but I'm still curious about the trajectory because that, informs how this came to be for you.
Yeah.
So back when you started the company, you're doing DJing, there was a point where I guess you decided to have bands.
Yeah. And that was a very defining
whole
moment.
Nother leap.
Yeah.
So how was it defining?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, and I can tell you exactly when and where it happened too. So now, fast forward, this is, I think, 19, I guess that would be 89 or 90. Let's just say it was 90. It's a nice round number. And I was in Florida. I was in North Miami. And we ended up really entrenching ourselves in the North Miami Cuban, actually, to be more specific, the Cuban Jews.
And I haven't heard that one. I don't.
Yeah, and we were doing these incredibly elaborate events. Now we were again these little pisher DJs that were put on with these incredible Latin orchestras. I'm talking like 20, 30 pieces.
Are you saying at the same time or before?
Same time. And there would be this incredible room with 300, 400 guests of a really, really elegant crowd of these Latin community in this Latin community in North Miami. And it would be an alternating entertainment where the DJ would play some DJ music, and the Latin orchestra would come on and play these Latin tunes. Because the DJs and us gringos, we didn't know their music. We didn't know what to play. So they would hire these specialists and these incredible...
To bring in another demographic.
Just to answer that need for that call for their crowd. Yeah. Right? So now picture this. You have these alternating sets. These Latin orchestra would stop. The DJ would come on. What happened was that we would start playing our music, and some of the players in that large orchestra would just continue to jam with us.
Interesting.
Some of the percussion players just jammed on percussion. A couple of the horn players just jammed, and that's when the light clicked. And that was the beginning of the hybrid of live and DJ, which I think that was the birth of it in the entire industry, because this was so long ago and it wasn't done, and it was unheard of. So On the Move that's when we started On the Move. So in '93 we started this with the idea of being a company that's going to provide this hybrid of live and DJ.
Interesting. But were you also thinking that the live element would also stand alone by itself, or did you just come up with hybrid?
No, at the time we had no desire to be a band.
Yeah.
We had every desire to answer this missing segment of the entertainment industry. There are bands, there are DJs, there's nothing in between. We wanted to be what was in between.
It's interesting. I've always been mixed about the hybrid idea. However, I do recognize the positive side of it, right? Which is where the people who want to hear the music as it was recorded,
right,
but they want some kind of a live element,
something more elegant, something more interactive.
Yeah. Yes. And so you add that to it, and I think even these days starting to have singers, right? Where you pull out the vocal track.
That's a big part of it.
And do the, so you're doing that for a while. Now, did that, you kind of took that as it evolved out of Miami here to New York. How did people respond to it in the beginning?
It was amazing in the beginning and that's what put us on the map, including with some really, star-powered people in the industry, because no one was ever doing it. It was something completely new. It's not new anymore. It's not novel anymore by any means. In fact, it's being butchered left and right. But I think that about 20 years ago, it was completely new. And again, it wasn't for everybody. It was for a very specific targeted audience. You're not going to go and take this, incredible gala at the Pierre with 500 guests for this, 20-piece orchestra and sell them this concept. It wasn't for them.
Yeah.
But it was for a lot of people.
So then when did you come up with the idea of, just simply having bands?
Well, it evolved. So then it evolved from being exposed to such great talent. We started getting, establishing these great relationships with these great musicians, really, really super talented, incredible musicians, incredibly accomplished musicians. And so it was a no-brainer. It was an easy jump to have a strictly live ensemble. And so when we were blessed with these relationships of such great people, it was easy. It was like, great, let's put this together, drop the DJ and form some great bands. So that progressed. And now I think as we evolved, and maybe even more specifically, as I've evolved and I've gotten older, and some of the relationships that I have are 20, 30 years going, that I think I've matured. And I think having live music is a maturation process too.
In what sense?
I think there is I'll go back to my philosophy of why I think live music is making even like a resurgence of like the where maybe 10 years ago, the whole DJ things, it was cool to have DJs at galas and really, formal events. No, I think because there's an appreciation to live music that comes with experience. It comes with being cultured and traveled and appreciating talent in that level. And when you're 18, I don't think you appreciate it as much as you do when you're 30 or 40 or 50.
Darren, I'm also curious. So I would love to know what you think of this. So, when we grew up, bands were it.
Right.
Right? There was Earth, Wind and Fire, Silent Family Stone, Chicago, Tower of Power, right? All these bands. And also just simply groups, whether or not there's horns. Yeah, I didn't even necessarily, mean horns. I mean, Elton John, Billy Joel, just all of this, the live groups. However, it seems to me that the younger generation starting to get married now did not really grow up to bands, right? I mean, there's the occasional Bruno Mars, which I love because it brings back the old school. It's funny, Snoop Dogg with the rap, but behind it is old school, right?
The dramatics.
But the thing is, overall, they have grown up with these superstar Christina Aguilera and whatever, Britney Spears and Beyonce, and there's not so much the concept of a band. And I've been thinking that that's why it's been going more and more to DJs. I haven't quite seen exactly to me, and I would love to see it, a resurgence with live bands, because there's nothing like the energy of a live band if they're good, right? And they know the front line knows how to handle it. How do you feel about all this?
No, I mean, I hear you, but I also think this. I don't think you're ever going to convince a client who only likes to hear the originals by the original artist. Let's just call them the prototypical DJ client. You're never going to convince that specific person why it's better to have a live band. I think it's in you, and once I think it's on us as the people that are the purveyors of these. It's up to us to recognize who those people are. Now, there are plenty of people who are on the fence, and then we could try to get that out of them, right? Do you know what I mean? There are people that you're never going to convince them that a live version of Earth, Wind and Fire is better than the original Earth, Wind and Fire. But there are plenty of people who, if you can duplicate that sound effectively, if you could really do it well, which is really what it's about, having amazing talent, amazing singers, tight horns, a great rhythm section. If you could do all that and show them and prove it, they're blown away by that live experience.
So why do you feel, I mean, other than us having to take the initiative to show them, I get that. Why do you feel that it's live music is starting to, or bands are starting to make a resurgence? Yeah,
because I'm talking about our world, but I see this. I see that even the people that you just mentioned, like the Bruno Mars and like a lot of the things, you're seeing more live music even in the younger generation's music. You're seeing that back. Like think about 10 years ago, how electronic the music was, right? Hey, maybe the sounds are still electronic, but they're made to sound like more live orchestration.
That's an interesting point. People care, or they wouldn't have done it.
Where you had, an orc hit, as a sound effect in the late 80s and the early 90s, that was so fake sounding. Now these tracks. They want it to be real. So now, and by the way, they're all doing it in their live performances. You go to a Beyonce show, you go to some of these concerts, it's fully orchestrated.
It's true, yeah. And actually, we don't really know, or let's say the layman doesn't know exactly what's really being played live and what isn't.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And plus, let's just talk about us. And again, I don't want to steer this conversation to a horrible plug, but we're doing more full orchestration and symphony work. So our large scale band live work is on fire.
And can you explain what live band is? Large orchestra, like
sure.
What are the instruments?
I think the break comes from having large horn and string sections. You have a rhythm section that is the core of any live
which is drums, bass, guitar, keyboard.
Nailed it. And so, and then obviously your vocals can be, you could be one person, could be 10 people.
Yeah.
But once you start going into multi-part horn and multi-part string as your bed of music to accompany these sounds, that's when you're getting into full orchestration.
How many horns are we talking 3 or 4?
No, we're talking bigger. Yeah. Because I think a lot of the dance bands that are super popular right now, let's just call your average Saturday night hit, will be a 10, 12, 13 piece band at a heartbeat, right? Which is usually 3 horns. 3. Maybe sometimes you'll throw a violinist in there, 3 or 4 singers.
But you're going bigger than 3?
Yeah, we're talking 28 to 34 pieces.
Whoa.
Yeah. We're talking about,
This is like going back in a sense to the 40s, the big band era.
It is.
In a sense.
We were just with Marcy Bloom in Detroit 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And this was just like playing into what I'm talking about. It was a 50th birthday party. So what? That's my age, right? So that's not, you're not looking at these people as geriatrics.
It's what we grew up to.
And it was big band.
Huh.
It was swing. It was big band. It was amazing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because a 50-year-old didn't really grow up to big band and swing.
Right.
Not really.
Right. But they just love the vibe. So it was sort of this vintage throwback night with big band, and that was, that wasn't even, a gala, let's just call it. A lot of times people think of these formal galas as the real reason you have these big bands.
That's right. But, this is just like whatever, a regular dance party.
It's just a 50th party, a jam.
How many strings are you talking about when you say strings?
There was 6 strings, 6 horns on that one.
Wow, yeah. What an incredible full sound that you've got too.
Yeah, really is. We have a couple of weeks from now, we have, a ceremony, just the ceremony for the wedding has 28 pieces.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So Darren, so you feel, are that large, is that coming back? Or let's not say coming back, it never was there, but.
And I think there was a segment again of the New York Society.
That's right. I remember,
Yeah.
I met, Stephen Scott, all those people back then. It was that kind of a thing.
There was, and I was never a part of that. I'm not.
Well, I know.
I knew of it.
Yeah.
But it was foreign territory.
Yeah.
We're seeing, and it's not even that much of an exclusivity. It's really just about people being enamored with this full, beautiful stage. We're doing these galas and these parties where it's a presence when you look up on the stage.
Just the visual aspect.
You see a baby grand piano.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You see seated and standing musicians on one side with those formal music stands, and even again black tie or tux or whatever it is. And you look up and it just exudes elegance. It is the most elegant thing you could put on a stage.
And then are they getting to the point in the party, this 28-piece band, where they are playing total current hits?
Oh yeah, we're rocking out like
with the strings, with the horns, the whole thing,
including bringing our rappers out and playing a Drake song. So yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, are the smaller ones, the 6-piece, 8-piece, 10-piece, 12-piece, still doing well too?
Yeah. Those are what I call sort of the, maybe I shouldn't say this on record, but it's more of an off-the-shelf solution where, again, you have a band, you film a great demo, you have a great following because they're busy and they're working every weekend, and there's a need for that. There's the everyday wedding client who really wants great music and a great band with an awesome front line of singers.
And the budget's going to be probably less.
Yeah, and there's I think there's a band for every budget. We try to figure that out. But then there's the special clients and the really special projects that want to be creative and want to put maybe more of a budget to doing something unique.
So let's talk about the curated process.
Yeah.
I want to come back to that.
Sure.
I know that's a specialty for you. Mm-hmm. And I do think that is what, especially as time goes on here with the saturation in the market of companies, is what's going to differentiate people. And obviously at the luxe end, that is part of it. Can you tell me about your own process, you know, kind of from start to finish when a client comes in, and let's say a wedding for now, they're coming in, a couple's coming in for a wedding. If you could take me through the process when it's a situation where you're curating it.
Yeah, I think there's an early conversation with you know, we always, I think what makes us really great at recommending something for our client is asking the right questions. You know, we're sitting with our clients and we can get a vibe right away if, you know, where they fit on the spectrum in terms of customization. Sometimes people look at that as a daunting process and it's a turnoff, you know, where I don't think about it, I want a great band. Great. That's easy. But when someone comes in and is really fascinated with the process and we get into these deep conversations
about what?
About the layers of the party. So it can be a journey from where things start at the beginning of the party and where they'll end up at the end, where they're thinking about each of these segments as a sort of a different feel, a different look, a different sound, right? That's one thing. And the other thing is also taking in visuals and sort of the experience of interaction. So if they're just saying, I want some music played, that's great. We'll play some music. But if they're talking about engaging with their audience and doing some really, really unique things, that's where we're like, ding, 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 the light goes off. And we say, okay, we've got someone we can talk to here about developing a concept for them, about now specializing with music and non-musical entertainment, because a lot of what we're doing in the curation process, maybe not so much for weddings, but for our other events, is combining music with performance art.
Interesting. Can you give me some examples of that?
I can give you tons of them because that's our niche, and that's the really fun things where we can create. I'll give you a fun one. Just 2 weeks ago, so we did Preston Bailey's 70th birthday party.
Yeah,
just 2 weeks ago, and you know, I was sitting with Preston and we were thinking about, you know, he wanted to do a disco theme. So disco became, all right, we're going with this. And I don't know if you saw that invitation, but if anybody's listening to this, if you haven't seen Preston Bailey's invitation, it is amazing because it was him laying nude as that the Burt Reynolds. Did you see? Oh, God.
I saw it. Something was covering it. I forgot what it was.
Oh God. If you can put a picture really up on the site, but just for that alone, you can put that in place of my picture for this. That was great. All right. But, we talked about arrival. You know, Preston and I talked about what happens when guests walk in. Mm-hmm. Okay. What are they going to be seeing? What are they going to be feeling? What's the music going to be? So we started with some artists that were super unique, eye-catching, that again, that evoked some of the vintage 70s, but with a modern twist.
Can you describe it, Darren, to me?
That's going to be a difficult one to describe verbally because that is all about visual. It was very, very sexy. We were allowed to be sexy for this party.
I'll bet. Well, Preston with that kind of a party.
Exactly. But it started with these really unique artists that we work with that are fully body painted and have custom headpieces and that are just incredibly intriguing to work at. You walk in and you say, oh my God, what is that? That's the first thing.
And it's just a visual thing. They're
completely visual.
Okay.
they're just there to greet. So that was a greeting element.
But it immediately sets a tone.
Immediately sets a tone when you walk in and going,
a level of excitement. Like, because see, to me, that would also tell me, I wonder what's coming next.
Exactly. Thank you. That's exactly what the purpose of that is. It's to intrigue. It's to get you in the room and say, wow, if this is the first thing I'm seeing when I'm walking in, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think the reverse. If you just had those people and you didn't follow up with anything, you're going to let a lot of people down because the reverse is going to happen. They're like, what happened? That's it? You took care of everything at the entrance.
That's right.
So that was one thing that we talked about, a really, really fantastic entrance. Mm-hmm. Music was easy because it was a disco party. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even going to get into the musical element because it was disco.
Yeah, just play it.
Yeah, but what we wanted to do now is to create these layers. And so the next layer was going to be this moment that was around midnight, which was this diva moment. You know, I've done all of Preston's book launches. I did his wedding. You know, I knew he really he loved like Gloria Gaynor. As a matter of fact, we had Gloria Gaynor one of his book launches.
I saw that. Yeah, she was there.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I forgot about that. But we recreated that. We created a moment around It's Raining Men, where, you know, we had our diva sing live vocally to track, and we didn't bring in a band.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
But we also choreographed these gorgeous go-go boys, you know, to accompany our diva.
Right.
And we had that moment that was really his birthday moment, but was created around that, you know. So and we had some violinists that came in 70s go-go booths that did play some of the strings along with that. That was another layer. Yeah, along to track.
But that's cool.
Yep.
See, and not to interrupt you, but I know, because Preston's been on the show twice, is creating these moments through the night where something changes.
Yeah.
It could be anything, right? It could be a smell. It could be a sight. It could be a color change. It could be the backdrop behind it. It could be anything.
I call it entertainment layers. I mean, that's what I like that term. I've been preaching layers to my clients for years. I think that word says so much. I think designers use it. I think chefs use it, you know, but when people don't think about it in terms of music, but if you can create layers and create a series of reveals at an event, there's nothing better about keeping an audience engaged. That's what it's about. You keep them on their toes. You get people to stay involved, and you take a party that it may be 3 or 4 hours and it feels like 5 minutes, because they're constantly being bombarded with some sort of layer of surprise.
So you do have people coming and going, coming and going.
Very short spurts. No, and then, by the way, everything that I just mentioned for Preston, that diva moment was 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Like make it hot and then get out.
Yeah. Don't overstay your welcome.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and that is also a challenge we have in the industry, you know, as a vendor and as someone that charges a decent amount of money for these performances. Sometimes we have to explain and justify why someone is spending a bloody fortune for such a short piece. We call some of the acts that we do are transitional pieces, where literally their job is to be a transition from point A to point B, and it might just be 60 seconds. But the more elaborate that is, the more musicians and performers, you know, we did that recently where we had to move 1,500 guests from one part of the venue to another. So we created this Pied Piper moment where everything was mobile, and that was the idea, for people to follow the talent and the musicians and the guys doing flips and the drummers with the drums. And
Now, do you use this concept for any kind of event? I mean, corporate, weddings, gala fundraisers, whatever? Yeah, I mean, obviously every party is different, and regardless if you're celebrating a marriage or if you're celebrating a milestone for a company or whatever it is, honestly, what we're talking about a party. Yeah. You know, so if you boil all these things down to the basics of what they are, it's people gathering to have a good time. There's different goals in mind. You know, you have a fundraiser, you're trying to engage guests to open up their wallets and pledge money. You know, you have a wedding, it's people to enjoy and to celebrate the love of these two people, you know, but in the end, it's people in a room looking to have a good time. So if you boil it down to that, our role as entertainers is really, really the same at a lot of these events. We go about it in different ways, but again, I think it's also what's appropriate for what party. You know, just saying before, a big band at Preston's event didn't fit that event. That's right. You know, but then again, another party, I might say the exact opposite. How could you not have a band at this event? And can you? I assume you do this even if it's, let's say, the core is an 8-piece band. You can still bring in element. Of course, you could still have reveals the whole time. Yeah, I mean, that would, to me, that makes it even bigger, my go-to. In a sense. Yeah. My go-to on every pitch, on every meeting that we have to present our services to a client. That's my go-to until I hear otherwise. I want to tell them about our entertaining journey from start to finish. I want to educate them on what that process can be if they're not familiar, and if they're true pros and they know. I'm not telling Norma Cohen how to run a party. Norma knows how to run a party, right? But I might present Norma with ideas for this specific event. Yeah. And we do that all the time. So we'll collaborate on that. You know, we'll say, okay, this fits this client. And then she'll say, what, are you crazy? That doesn't fit this client. Let's do this. I could hear her saying that. She's been on the show, of course.
Yeah. So, so that's the process also. It's understanding your client, understanding your planner, understanding your venue, the limitations of where you are with time, space, all those things. So if we can do our jobs right and present something that fits all those things and ticks off all the boxes, then great. We're hopefully we'll convert and it'll make sense.
It's also interesting to me, today's client is so savvy, right? Everyone talks about how much more educated everyone is.
It's all online. They can find it.
Online, and expectations are very high, but also attention span is so short.
Yeah.
And so these quick reveals and having reveals seems to me critical because we just don't have the focus anymore.
And placement in the party and being able to actually call an audible is pretty important too. So when we have great relationships with these planners and producers of these events, and you've been there, there's a gut feeling on the dance floor or at a party where you've got the audience, now is the time. Or like, ooh, you know what? We're starting to feel like it's whether it's you're losing that or when you have to regain that energy.
Yeah. You're talking about these spontaneous improvised moments.
I'm talking about either trimming a performance you have, pushing it up to another time, swapping what you had on, say we had a series of reveals. Guess what? Let's change it. Let's we're going to go with Act 3 for Act 2 instead because it just feels right now.
Yeah, right. Well, it's interesting to me, the bands that don't think like that, but you have to be able to read the crowd. And, people think
it's an art.
A crowd is a crowd is a crowd is a crowd. No, it's not. There's a different chemistry to every single group of people, just like friends and everything else.
I think that's what separates, sort of the amateurs from the professionals in the world of music and entertainment.
Being able to read it.
That. Reading the crowd. And I don't care if you're a DJ or if you're a 28-piece orchestra, you still got to read the crowd and be right.
Well, and that takes a certain amount of experience and being seasoned.
Right.
To do that, as well as the ability to recognize that.
I say you can only do it until you've been on 1,000 shows.
I like that.
I made that up.
Right. What is that? 10,000 hours or 1,000 times 4 is 40,000. So what about the business aspect of this? I mean, Darren, man, I mean, there's the whole cliche, that musicians are not, there has to be a serious business element. Now, especially the kind of business you're talking about. How did you learn to build a business in terms of choosing people, managing people, handling the money, all of this? How did that come to be for you?
I think a lot of it comes on the job training on the fly. I think it all starts from recognizing and managing your talent first. If we're in the entertainment business, we're only as good as the people that are providing the talent, us as performers. So I think our first thing we did, and we still do now, and I think we still do this better than anybody, is cherish the talent, really, because without them, we're nothing. So as soon as we can make it important for their voices to be heard, for them to be creative, allow them to blossom, and also for us to recognize what their strengths are and help translate those strengths to what the client might need, because not every artist is great for every event, it's not like that. So I think it started from that. And then when we started learning how to manage that, we started to learn how to do contracts. We started learning how to book clients. We started learning how to charge the right amount of money. How many jobs that we didn't charge enough or we charged too much and lost. I mean, we've done tons of that, but you learn, right? You learn. And then you hopefully surround yourself with great people that can help you. The biggest thing for us is scaling, is being able to scale out and do multiple jobs, scale out and to be able to work with these many personalities effectively and learn how to do that, and be able to manage all these jobs. These amazing, talented people that we're talking about that we get to work with, they would never work with us if we didn't manage our jobs properly.
But what do you mean by that?
I mean that like you could have an 8-piece band go play a wedding, but if the band is like smoking on the side, if the band isn't dressed properly, if they're not eating when they're supposed to, if they don't show up on time, I'm talking about the managing of the talent on the job. We learned a long time ago that that's half the battle on site. Of course, the prep for a year and a half and getting to that job is a different story. We can get into that. But we learned that, the really, really difficult jobs and people that have the highest expectations need the most management on these jobs. Oversight. Yeah.
And what about when there's an issue with the economy? This is the whole event industry. It's based on discretionary income. Yeah. The music is even more discretionary.
It's true.
Like during the recession 2008, it hit us in New York. I'm assuming 2009 How do you handle that kind of an issue?
It was an issue then, but you want to know what a bigger issue was after September 11th. We've been around so long. Being a New York City vendor after 9/11 was, I think, a worse time for the entertainment business than even the economic drop after 2008 and 9. It was almost inappropriate to have a party. It was almost inappropriate to celebrate lavishly.
Yeah.
For a period of time.
That's right.
It really was. It was seen as tacky. So we had those times, and thankfully we made it through. We took hits just like everybody else.
Just get lean and mean.
We got lean,
just lean.
Sure, yeah. I was loading and unloading trucks.
No, we all have to do that. So with all that you've been through, all the changes in the industry and how, and again, I see after all these years, you start in 1993 and 8 months ago, you've got this new setup to help, get the message across to people. What are you looking forward to in the future? Where do you see yourself going, and where do you see music going and entertainment for events? And what do you see yourself doing?
Well, I guess if I could have my dream come true, it would be to create these custom events with our clients. I mean, to me, that I get so much pleasure out of it myself.
Yeah.
If I could have my business only do that, I don't know if that's possible. If it is, great. But to being able to work with clients and designers and planners from an entertainment perspective to build custom, it's awesome. I love it. I love being able to fabricate and build literally like in my garage and build something for an act. I love that. I love being able to do something that's never been done before, come up with some crazy idea and make it work.
So more curation.
Yeah, more. Yeah. If you're asking me what I would like to see our business go into more, it's the custom curation from that standpoint. Yeah.
Do you see anything coming in terms of the acts themselves, or the kind of acts, or again, is it just more custom design?
Well, I think if we're a well-rounded entertainment company, I think we have to have an answer for a lot of different questions, sort of a solution for everybody. There are highly, highly specialized companies out there that only do this. There might be, a mariachi company that only plays mariachi music. We have accounts. We work with a lot of agencies. We work with a lot of planners. They're going to come to us with different, every day, every hour is a different request, and they are miles apart from each other. So if we can have a solution that's, ready to go for all those and have it ready to go from a digital perspective, content. We've spent a fortune in the last few years in-house developing our content. And that's what the studio is about, honestly, too.
And can you describe for people, what do you mean by content?
I mean, be able to prove what you're doing. So if I say to you, oh, hey, I had this amazing 28-piece orchestra. Oh, trust me, it's great. Are you booking? Are you giving me a check?
That's a tough one.
No way. Show me. Every client.
So what about the issue of videos versus showing?
No, we're doing, well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about video. I'm talking about a library of video that demonstrates the product that you're talking about. I don't care if it's a DJ, if it's a mariachi, or it's a jazz trio, or it's a 20-piece orchestra, or it's this artist that eats fire and then spins on her head. If you have a video and you can prove it, and by the way, the video has to be, don't get me started about how good that video has to be. The audio's got to be great. The background, the settings got to be great. The recording's got to be 4K. Everything's got to be beautiful for it to be at that level. So to have a content that's constantly being managed to produce proof to your clients, this is what we can do.
Yeah, because they can't. That's the future. You don't want them going out to see them live.
Well, we got to get them in, right? So this is the sales process for us is this. We have to have the content that initially engages them to want to talk to us. That's step one. Okay. Obviously, it's a reputation and referrals. Great. But even that, they're going to say, I have an idea. Can you do this? Yeah, sure. Let me show you. Here's something that we'll just use as a reference, or let's just call it, a rough idea of, hey, look, this is something like what we're talking about. If it's enough to say, wow, that's really cool, then we come in, and that's when we start customizing or getting into more detail or filming a new video for them. Yeah.
You'll film a new video for them.
Yeah, exactly.
This is at the super high end.
Well, not always. No, it's not. We do a lot of nonprofit too. Our nonprofit clientele is probably 20 to 25% of our business.
You are in New York after all.
It's meaningful to us. The word nonprofit doesn't mean you can't profit from the event, but you should be giving back as part of that. but I'm sure I could say so. AmeriCares is a great client that we do with Brian Raffinelli. Mm-hmm. And we're working on their big flyaway event in October. We were struggling with the client coming up with the perfect musical complement for this event. Mm-hmm. We showed demos, we sent videos. I'm not sure, this might not be right. So it was back and forth. Now they're based up in out of the city. So what happened? So a couple of the Raffinelli team came here to our cabaret right where we're sitting. We put on the show here. We FaceTime them on the spot.
Oh, brilliant.
Live.
Yeah.
And then the AmeriCares team was on the other side. We were like, hey, here we are. And what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And we did it live, but not live. We did it live in our studio. They were sitting in their showroom, in their office, and boom.
Well, it kind of brings a level of trust too.
Yeah, it does.
Clearly.
And so that's on the wedding front. We're working on a beautiful wedding in Lake Como in September in Italy. We're thrilled to it's awesome to do all these destination events, right? But it was a very cool client, great wedding planner. We showed them one of our bands, like let's just call it Out of the Box, and it was good enough for them to say, wow, they're really great. And then we got them in here and we sat right here in the cabaret. And we started hearing more about what they like, about what their music is. And we did another visit with them. They came back here again and we brought a couple more artists in. And we ended up sort of customizing that band for their wedding in Italy. And that's who they're getting.
But Darren, I'm just curious, do you do this after it's been in a contract or a deposit because you don't yet know what it's going to cost exactly?
Yeah.
Or are you taking the chance and looking at it as an investment to
both
where you might lose it?
Yeah, both. We do, we do it, let's say like on spec, we do it both ways. We do this for some great clients to try to win the business, come here, see it, book it. Then there's other clients that are booked and want to now further develop what we're working on with them.
Are you paying the musicians for this?
Absolutely.
You have to.
100%. Yeah.
Man, this is really fascinating. And just, before we close, is there any particular way that you follow up? I mean, there's the whole issue. Look, building a legacy client, obviously with the music, if they love it, that's it.
Right.
But I wonder if you have any other method of then staying in touch with people.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? We're trying to do more and more of that with giving them more content. Like that's if we have our band playing, someone has that band booked for next year in May of 2020. They're doing a great wedding then. It's a year and a half away. How do you keep that going? So, well, one of the ways is our music directors stay in close contact with all of our clients, constantly asking about, hey, did you listen to any music this weekend? It's really just a dialogue.
Really? Just ongoing kind of check-in?
Yeah, it's dialogue. It's incessant dialogue.
Interesting.
That's one.
Yeah.
Okay. The other one is bombarding them with content. So it's not something that we're publicly putting out on the website or like putting out on Instagram, but it's literally texting a client a clip from the event the other night.
Oh, like here's your band.
Yeah, look at this. Oh, look, check this out. We just did this new version of that Bruno Mars song. What do you think? We slowed it down a little bit. What do you think? Yeah, it's doing that.
That's a great. Well, you're keeping the relationship going. Yeah. It's part of the curation, really.
They love it, right? And even though we're not curating a new artist and a new band and a new arrangement of a band, it's still curating their music for their night. It's still talking about, I wouldn't have thought to play that song in a million years. It sounds amazing. That's so cool. Let's do that.
And look, I've got a question, and to me, I know the answer for me. It's all about the brand. You're delivering what you promised to deliver, regardless of who's there. But what do you do when you're having this ongoing, let's call it conversation with them, and they're seeing clips, and people come and go from bands any company.
Yeah.
Does this come up, or is so? I mean, because my way of talking about is the brand, right?
Yeah.
This is the brand consistently. Look, if I had my first act, which was started in 1990, if all the same people were there today, it'd be a group of very old people.
Yeah, right.
Right? You want me to make changes.
Yes.
But how do you deal with that? Because you're exposing yourself even more so along the way.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, where did that singer go?
Yeah, that really just comes down to relationships. It comes down with your client being so comfortable with you and your family of, you could call it your brand, you know, you call it whatever you want, but honestly, it's just about relationships that people feel so comfortable with everything that you're doing that if that God forbid situation comes up where the human condition comes in and someone can't make a gig, whether it's a lead singer or the drummer or whatever, they feel great about the who else is involved. They feel great about, oh my God, and sometimes that even works out even better than what they planned.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, my take on it is you got to look at it as an opportunity to take it to another level if there's a change.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, one of the lead singers in our band just had a baby.
Yeah.
In our top band.
Right.
She just had a baby. Wait, she's just going to be, and you know what? Every bride that we've had in her, let's just call it her, you know, her rest period between when she was giving birth and then she just had the baby, 3 weeks ago? You know, so there are plenty of May and June clients who are like, obviously she's not doing my wedding. Of course not. But they came in here or they saw videos of and they're like, this is great.
Yeah, of course.
We don't have a problem. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Right.
That was me knocking.
Well, Darren, man, this has been an absolute blast. Really, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time, and I'm really impressed.
Same
really
here,
admire what you're doing.
I'm honored to be a part of this. It really is. I love what you're doing with the podcast. It really is. It's an incredible, group of pros in the industry that you've lined up on this podcast. It's pretty killer.
Thanks.
It's great. We go to these. I've gone to Engage. I've gone to some of these things, and I see these recurring faces of who the true icons are in the industry,
right.
and I'm super humbled to be on that list. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Darren Olarsch of On the Move Entertainment. Check out his website, which is onthemove.com, and his social media handle on Instagram and Facebook is On the Move Events. You can check out the show notes with pictures and more at the website of theweddingbiz.com. And if you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends and colleagues and give it a great review. That really helps new people find us. And don't forget to listen Wednesday to our follow-on segment, The Next Level, in which I have a guest co-host, and we tease out some of the highlights of the interview to help you really use them to bring your own business to the next level. And this week's guest co-host, I'm so excited to say, is going to be Jess Gordon, who is the coolest planner designer and who appeared on the show October 30th of 2017. Jess is an award-winning planner and designer doing outrageous events worldwide with offices in New York City and LA, so definitely tune into The Next Level. And next week's episode, want to let you know, is going to be Calder Clark, a full-service consulting and design firm out of Charleston, South Carolina, and Raleigh, North Carolina. Calder is highly respected and plans a limited number of annual exclusive destination affairs, both domestic and international. She's also a Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and Martha Stewart Weddings top planner. So definitely great interview, great conversation with Calder for next week. Be sure to subscribe to The Wedding Biz if you haven't already. It's free. You'll get notifications. And follow us on Instagram at The Wedding Biz. So we will catch you all next week on The Wedding Biz.